Sounds good.
Oh, KV.
Yeah,
This is Jack, Foundation
yeah,
of
I
Taipei
know, I know.
University. Long time
I
no
know,
see.
I of course remember you. So I think it's about time, so let's just start. So good evening, everybody. So welcome to join this session because uh, we are going to invite our partner from Teachers College, Columbia University, to talk about our training in the US this winter vacation. And after that, we will have some QA time for everybody to ask questions, and we will go over some of like a basic information about traveling to the US and how to apply for the visa stuff. So without any further ado, let's welcome our partner, Jasmine.
Thank you, Kevi. And good evening to everybody in Taiwan. Thank you so much for being accommodating to the time frame. I know it's hard with the 12-hour time difference, so we're very grateful. Um, I'm very excited to have my team here with you today to walk you through the various components of the program at Teachers College this coming February, coming up very soon. So without further ado, let's just get started. Um, yeah, so we just wanted to start very quickly to let you know who our team is, and some of them are on this call with us today. So I'll let them introduce themselves, but I just wanted to start by letting you know that we are part of the Office of Global Engagement, which helps facilitate these kinds of international programs that bring folks from all over the world to TC to engage in all kinds of programs such as the EMI program that you all will be a part of. Our fearless director is Amin Michelle. Amin is currently on business travel, so he's not here with us today. But he's the director of global engagement and he helps, lead our team. My name is Jasmine Guardado. I'm the International Projects and Partnerships Manager, and I help coordinate all of these programs. I help establish formal partnerships between universities, governments, nonprofit organizations, NGOs, things of that nature, and I help facilitate all of the international workings of Teachers College. And so I want to just pass it very quickly to my colleagues on the call so they can introduce themselves as well. So I'll pass it to Lauren if you want to briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Huser. I'm the International Program Coordinator in the Office of Global Engagement. I'm one of the faces that you will see here at TC during your visits. I do a lot of operations and administration for our office, and I'm also the Fulbright Program Manager. So I will pass it to Isaac.
Hi everyone, I'm Isaac Guzman. I'm the Global Operations Coordinator. Um, I do a lot of work with the TC newsletter and I'm helping to organize the event connected to the professors.
Thank you, Isaac. And Isaac actually spent quite a bit of time in Taiwan and speaks a little bit of Mandarin. So that's very cool. And last but not least, Talha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Talha. I joined TC last year, and I'm working with the Office of Global Engagements beginning this semester. I'm working on the new projects that we're developing with our international partners right now, and I have some experience teaching English myself. And also, I'm from a university that had English as a medium of instruction, so this is a very valuable opportunity for us. Yeah.
Thank you, Talha. And lastly, our Global Academic Program Liaison, Kathy Le, who's been helping with this as well, is not here, but is part of our team as well. So yeah, so we're just going to give you a quick overview of Teachers College, a brief history, so you kind of get an idea of the university and kind of some of its key facts and history. So I'll pass it to Talha to lead us through that.
All right. Thank you so much, Yasmin. So let me start by quickly introducing the rich history of Teachers College. So it was founded in 1887 during a time of significant societal change and transformation. with the pressing issues of industrialization, immigration, social reform, pressing both New York and the United States in general. So it was spearheaded by visionary leaders like Grace Dodge and philanthropists such as George Vanderbilt, Nicholas Butler. And what truly set Teachers College apart at its time was its pioneering pedagogy. So it introduced innovative teaching methods tailored to diverse learner backgrounds, making education more relevant, to say. So the college also integrated education, psychology, and health, its programs over time, transforming K-12 education by emphasizing the importance of holistic student development. So if we can go to the next slide. Since its establishment, Teachers College had a profound global impact. In a sense, it created some of the first programs in fields such as education psychology, comparative and international education, and others that have truly shaped the academic world. The college also played a critical role in the foundation of UNESCO and a lot of different education systems modernization globally. Another milestone was actually the college's International Institute, which was established in 1923. That became a hub for global education, attracting more than 4,000 international students, including a significant group of scholars, actually, who went back to their countries and led their country's education system transformations. So this institute actually kept its prevalence even not by its name to this day. Still, TC scholars keep on going back and contributing in their own countries on education policy making. And among its iconic leaders was John Dewey, who revolutionized education philosophy by emphasizing hands-on, learner-centered approaches. And other educators like Maxine Green, Edmund Gordon, furthered the vision of the college with their emphasis on social justice. And to this day, our college remains committed to values of empowering underserved communities worldwide in access to education, arts, and health services. So if we can go to next one. So then let's look at the key figures about the Teachers College today. Today, the college has over 5,000 students, more than 3,000 of them being full-time, and approximately 30% of these students are international students from all around the world. And these students are distributed across master's programs, doctoral programs, and other certificate programs. And if we look at the faculty side, we have over 400 faculty members in total, which makes it almost 11 students per faculty member, which is a great ratio in today's higher education. So these numbers reflect our college's dedication to maintaining an intimate and high quality learning environment for the diverse student body we have. If we can go to the next one. And finally, Teachers College continues to lead the way in education as it started in 1887, consistently being ranked as the first #1 graduate school in education, both years, 2023 and 2024, by the US News and World Report. Its main areas of expertise are very vast, and it includes these ones and other programs. Actually, we have more than 100 programs that we offer to our students in different levels. So that is a brief overview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Talha. Yeah, that was amazing. And TC is really inspiring in that way, in that we have a very intersectional, interdisciplinary approach to education, health, and psychology. So a lot of different programs approached from all these angles. So I'm going to pass it to my colleague Isaac, who will walk us through a brief anticipated itinerary. I just want to preface this letting you all know that we're going to give you the itinerary in its entirety beforehand so that you know what you will be doing each day and who you will be meeting with. Right now it's just to kind of give you a general idea of how your days will be planned out. And then, so Isaac will give you an overview, and then I'll kind of get into some of the specific details of what some of the workshops will entail and things like that. So without further ado, Isaac, if you can lead us through that, please.
All right. So to start off our program, we're going to have a program orientation with our director, Amin, on Monday, February 3rd. Then we will jump right into discussing the global landscape of English as medium of instruction and bilingual education. After this whole morning session, for each day, really, we'll have about an hour and 15 minutes for lunch. And then in the afternoon, we will have a workshop on integrating EMI in content courses, followed by a campus tour. On Tuesday, we will sort of shift a bit and discuss the pedagogical strategies for EMI. And then in the afternoon, we will look at successful examples of case studies of implementation of EMI in various countries. Then we will also have a workshop on designing bilingual curriculum materials. And then on February 5th, we will have classroom observations. So you'll get the opportunity to see what the classes are like here at TC and Columbia University. Then in the afternoon, we will have a debrief session to sort of discuss our thoughts and findings on the classroom observations. And then we will have a networking session with TC faculty. Then on Thursday, February 6th, we will have a lecture on assessment in EMI course contexts and a workshop on developing language assessment for content areas. And in the afternoon, we will have a lecture on technology integration in bilingual education. Here we'll talk a bit about the uses of AI in bilingual education. Then Friday, we will sort of shift gears again. We'll start by going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And should weather permit in February, we will try and take our lunch break. And then afterwards, we will discuss cultural contexts. So to start off the second week, we'll be discussing policy developments, as well as having a panel discussion for EMI policies in higher education. And in the afternoon, we will work on strategic planning for EMI implementation. On Tuesday, we will have a visit to Pearson Education headquarters, and we'll be discussing global perspectives. On Wednesday, we will have a workshop on faculty development and support and an interactive session on overcoming challenges in EMI. In the afternoon, we will have another networking session with Columbia University students. And then on Thursday, we will have a lecture on intercultural communication skills and a workshop on interaction. And finally, in the afternoon, we'll have our preparation of our action plans, which we will then present on Monday or on Friday morning. And then we will have our farewell luncheon, program evaluation, and a closing ceremony.
Thank you so much, Isaac. So I'll kind of get into some of those details that he talked about, but basically with the itinerary, we're kind of trying to balance out, as you saw, having workshops, lighter workshops in the morning and maybe one in the afternoon with the lunch break in between, and maybe some coffee breaks here and there as well. So I know it's a lot of content and a lot of learnings over the course of 2 weeks, and we're trying to fit in as much professional development as we can. So we're trying to be mindful of your capacity and being able to stay as engaged as possible. So touching on some of the key components for week 1 of what Isaac highlighted, we're really going to be delving into in classroom pedagogical strategies for EMI. Starting at the global level, we have from our International and Comparative Education Department, which is one of the first that was established at in the country and maybe even the world. We'll have one of the faculty from that department kind of walk us through some global trends that we're seeing, some common challenges that are faced by institutions, maybe not only in Taiwan, but in different parts of the world, and start to learn about emerging opportunities for enhancing bilingual education. In another workshop / lecture, and again, the intention is for these opportunities to not just be lecture based, they'll be very interactive, very hands-on, and the faculty, our TC faculty are all about participation, so they will often ask you to do group discussions or hands-on activities, or they'll break you up into small groups and things like that and do in real-time work. So just be prepared for those kinds of things. So for example, in the integrating EMI and content courses, we'll have a faculty member from the bilingual and bicultural education program, I believe, Dr. Chang, and she'll be walking us through kind of practical strategies for incorporating EMI, engaging in group discussions, things like that, to design your curriculum or to enhance the curriculum that you already have. She actually just sent over a Google form that she would like you all to fill out, and I'll send it over to Kevin so he can disseminate it to you all. But it's just a quick form to kind of get an idea of what you all are hoping to achieve through that workshop. And so she can best tailor the workshop to your needs. And I know you all are coming from various different academic backgrounds. So our faculty are going to be mindful of that and are going to try to integrate your various academic disciplines into the content that they share with you all. But as you can see, we have more workshops and lectures on effective pedagogical strategies, designing bilingual curriculum materials, and technology integration in bilingual education. And we'll share these slides with you all so you can look at them a little bit more in depth, so I don't have to read through everything. But I will say the technology integration in bilingual education will be a particularly interactive workshop. We'll have one of our wonderful colleagues from the Digital Futures Institute help bring in some actual digital tools that are being used or being newly used in classrooms as it relates to bilingual education. And I think we were just on a call with him this week, and I think he's planning on bringing in virtual reality headsets. So if you have any special needs or accommodations, or you think that you might need some special accommodations for wearing a virtual reality headset, please let us know or let Kevin know, and we will do our best to accommodate your needs for that workshop. But we're very excited to kind of share some fun technology that can potentially be integrated into your content courses. So the next slide, please. Yeah. So week 2, you can kind of see we're focusing a little bit more on policy development, a little bit more focused on higher education as a whole, and maybe strategic planning for how you can help advocate for better policies at your institution, and also more fun visits, for example, visiting the Pearson Education Headquarters and networking with Columbia University faculty and students, not only at Teachers College, but across our various campuses. So Teachers College is part of a wider, Columbia University family. So we'll invite folks from the main campus, we'll invite folks from Barnard College, and hopefully have a really awesome opportunity to build those cross-cultural connections. And yeah, just highlighting that we'll likely have a panel as well on EMI in higher education, and kind of discuss some challenges and opportunities that are faced, and also have an opportunity for you all to have a robust discussion with your colleagues and with folks here from Columbia University on EMI and higher ed and how we can best work together to implement these new policies. So that's kind of just a brief overview of what your weeks will look like and some of the salient themes that we're planning for you all. And I just wanted to briefly introduce some of the TC faculty. This is not everybody. We're still in the works of scheduling folks into the itinerary, but I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to some of the friendly faces that you will see in February. So for example, I mentioned from the Digital Futures Institute, our colleague Min Le is the principal instructional designer, and he is very well versed in technological integration in the classroom, and he leads a lot of workshops on professional development for educators. So he works with educators all over the world, and he is Google certified educator level 2 and a Microsoft certified educator as well. So we're very excited to have him. And the Digital Futures Institute is just one of the foremost institutes at TC as it relates to technology, and they're really leading the way in all respects of how to integrate technology into the classroom from K through higher ed. So we're really excited to have him with you all. We'll also be joined by Dr. Sharon Chang, who is from the Bilingual and Bicultural Education Program. And like I mentioned, she's really excited to meet you all and already has a Google form in order to best meet your needs. So please fill that out when you receive it. And we'll also have Dr. Sarah Kreider from the Applied Linguistics and the Teaching of English to Speakers of Other Languages, the TESOL department. And Sarah Dr. Kreider is amazing and really, really passionate about working with educators. And when we reached out to her to secure her invitation, she was an emphatic yes. She was really excited to be part of this program. And lastly, Dr. Stacy Ripke is an assistant professor of higher education in the higher and post-secondary education program at TC within the organization and leadership department. And she'll be joining us that second week that we talked about. And she's really passionate about professional development and strategizing and planning for policy implementation at the higher education level. So these are just some of the faces that you will see and that you will have the opportunity to network with and to learn from when you're here in February. So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about them. And like I said, we'll send definitely all of the bios and all of the information that you all need beforehand so you can feel prepared for your sessions come February. So I'm going to shift a little bit now from the content area of the program to more of the logistical aspects of New York City, because if you haven't been to New York at this point, it can be a little bit of an interesting experience. New York is not like any other city in the United States or maybe even the world, but my colleague Lauren is going to help walk you through some tips and tricks of New York and some safety things to consider while you're here. So Lauren?
Yes, hello everyone. I'll be walking you through sort of an overview of New York. I do want to let you know that we have a more comprehensive document where we give you some restaurant recommendations, overviews on maybe places you might want to visit in your downtime, shopping, things like that. So this is just a brief overview and you'll get more detailed information as we get closer to the dates. I'm not sure who here has already been to New York. If you have, feel free to give a little reaction, like a little heart, just so we know that maybe some folks are familiar. But like Jasmine said, it is a unique city. I think the greatest city in the world. Hopefully, after 2 weeks here, you will agree. But there are some things to know, some things to be prepared for. So just a brief overview of the city itself. New York is a city of 8.2 million people. It's the largest city in the US. And we're broken down into 5 big, they're called boroughs, but neighborhoods is probably a more familiar term. So Manhattan is the primary borough of New York, and that's where we are located. That's where you will be staying and probably spend most, if not all of your time. But we also have the Bronx, which is just north of Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. So it's actually made up of 5 primary neighborhoods. And so to zoom in a little bit, we just talked about Manhattan, which is here. And this is where TC is located within New York. So we are on the upper side, here, Central Park. That's always a good anchor or way to orient yourself if you're not sure where you are in the city. The beautiful thing about Manhattan is that, as you may be able to see, it's a grid system. So it's pretty easy to navigate. You'll have your avenues, which are running north to south, and then your streets, which are east to west. We're located on 120th Street, so pretty high up. But I'm not sure if you all have secured your accommodation yet. If you have not, you'll have a few options. If you're booking it yourself, I would recommend looking for something off the red subway line. That's going to be the 123. You can see on the map here, little blue dots. That's where the subway runs. So we'll get into transportation in a minute, but this neighborhood here west of Central Park, called the Upper West Side, that's a good option for you. It's a little quiet, more residential, but great access to transportation. And then if you go a little south of Central Park, you'll have areas like Times Square, very iconic, lots of hotels, very well connected, a little more hectic, but some good options there as well. So you can see where we are in relation to other areas of New York. So getting around, do be prepared to walk quite a bit. My biggest packing recommendation would be comfortable shoes. You'll be walking much more than you expect, even if you use public transportation or the subway, just the nature of New York. And it's a great way to see New York. So I always recommend walking if you can. If you take public transportation, you'll probably be taking the subway, but the bus is also an option. Just to give you an idea of how much transportation here costs, one ride is $2.90. You can do contactless, which is nice. You don't need to buy a subway card anymore, so it's super easy. You can use your phone or a credit card. I would recommend using Google Maps as your main way to navigate. So if you don't have that already, I would recommend downloading that. It will give you a sense of the best way to get around in terms of transportation and also let you know if there are any delays. If you do want or need to get around by car, we use Uber and Lyft as our main apps. There are also taxis, which you can just hail on the street. But I do want to warn you in advance that these are pretty expensive. New York in general is an expensive city, but transportation like Uber, Lyft, taxi, they are going to be pricey. So my recommendation is always public transportation. Moving on to safety, of course, being a big city, there are just some things to know here. There are a few parks near TC and of course parks throughout the city. Just would not recommend visiting those at night. Don't walk through those or spend time there at night just for safety concerns. Be mindful of your bags in public transit and in busy areas. I don't think New York has as big of a problem with pickpocketing as maybe some major European cities, but it does happen. And this one may sound a bit funny, but after 2 weeks in New York, you will definitely see some interesting people, interesting things. I would avoid staring or looking for too long at anyone or anything. It's not considered polite, but it can also just escalate a situation. So in general, I would recommend avoiding prolonged eye contact with anyone you don't know. Again, I'm sure that sounds weird, but just a social norm, that's also kind of a safety recommendation. Moving on to social norms again, in terms of what to wear, you can really wear whatever you want. The US is not a very formal place, nor is New York. You'll see people dressed in many different ways. If you go to a sit-down restaurant, we do have a tipping culture here, and it's customary to tip 15 to 20% of your overall bill, which is quite high, but that is the norm, and it is expected. So if you're going out to eat, just kind of in your mind, remember that that will be, you'll need to add that on at the end of your meal unless you're a larger group, generally if you're eating with 6 or more people, they will automatically charge you 20% tip. So be sure to check for that on the bill as well to make sure you're not double tipping. And another just social norm, especially in New York, again, back to the walking, we walk a lot. People here are often in a rush. So they'll be walking quickly, and I would advise you do the same. People can get a bit testy if you're a slow walker on the sidewalk. They might make a comment to you. So if you stay on the right side of the sidewalk and walk with a good pace, you'll fit right in. The weather, it will definitely be cold in New York when you're here. But the weather changes pretty often, so I would recommend checking the weather about a week before you depart and packing at that time. Generally, it's about 5 degrees during the day and -1 degree in the evening. Again, it could be colder, it could be warmer. It doesn't snow that often in New York, but it's possible, so just keep an eye out. Shopping, that's a great part of New York. Again, we'll have more in-depth recommendations, but if you want to start sort of orienting yourself or looking at some areas, Fifth Avenue is obviously an iconic street for shopping. Again, that's going to go north to south, and it's a street that you can just follow for many, many blocks, and you'll run into any store you can imagine. Very high-end stores like Louis Vuitton, or more standard stores like H&M, Nike, they will all be there. Soho is a neighborhood in New York, further south in Manhattan. But again, it will also have essentially any store you could hope to visit. So those are 2 good shopping options, very different vibes. And some major department stores that you might hear of and want to visit would be Macy's, Nordstrom, and Saks Fifth Avenue. So those are stores that will have a lot of different brands. Just a general New York vibe, or some words that I think describe New York well. It's a very loud place. It can be a bit dirty. It's very busy, very diverse. I think that's one of the best things about New York. Like I said, you'll see everything you can imagine, people from every walk of life. You'll hear many different languages being spoken. So again, I think it's really unlike anywhere else. I think that people have a reputation for being a bit unfriendly, which I think is not true. I think people here are pretty busy and pretty direct, but if you need help, people are usually happy to jump in and friendly. So feel free to ask people questions. They're generally helpful. And attractions and things to do. There's a lot. This is a very brief snippet, but some things you might want to look into while you're here. You could visit the top of the Empire State Building or the top of the Rock, which is Rockefeller Center. I would maybe recommend top of the Rock, because if you go up the top of the Empire State Building, you can't see the Empire State Building. So that's one thing you don't realize until you're up there. You're not able to look at one of the most iconic buildings. Central Park, weather permitting, is always beautiful. You can go to the Statue of Liberty. If you take the Staten Island ferry, it's a very cheap ferry that will go right by the statues. So my recommendation, don't do a Statue of Liberty tour. Take the ferry and you'll get close enough and you'll save a lot of money. You could go see a Broadway musical, visit Times Square. We have a lot of great museums. I think you'll already be going to the Metropolitan Museum of Arts in the regular itinerary, which is great. There's also the Museum of Modern Arts and the Museum of Natural History, which is on the Upper West Side, the Museum of Natural History. So that one's easy to get to. And then some food to try. Food that maybe you've heard of, but I think are iconic to New York. It's a lot of bread, I'm not gonna lie, but a bagel is something that we have for breakfast. And it's honestly one of the cheapest breakfasts you can have in New York. So if you're on a budget and you want to do something very authentic, you can get a bagel with cream cheese. A pizza slice. New York is really well known for their pizza. It's very thin, very big. Not like Italian pizza really, but it's delicious. A bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, which is the top photo here on the slide. Again, that's a breakfast food that's super common for us. And then a pastrami sandwich. You might have seen that again in movies. Somewhere like Katz Deli is a famous spot to get a pastrami sandwich. Just iconic New York. So I know that's a lot, but that's a general overview of New York. If you have any questions about anything that we've gone over, we would be happy to help. There's our email address, and I'll pass it back to Jasmine to kind of wrap things up for us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lauren. That was a really great overview of New York. And if you have any other questions about New York City, even the smallest, detail, nothing is too small, please feel free to let us know. We're really happy to help make your trip as smooth and accommodating as possible. So yeah, don't feel, like you can't reach out to us. We're really happy to answer all the questions, especially if it's your first time coming to New York. So with that being said, we're just wondering, we have a little bit of time for questions. So yeah, so I'll leave the floor open. You can either come off of mute or put it in the chat, whatever you feel more comfortable. And like I said, we'll share the slides after this.
Hello, thank you for the amazing presentation. I wonder if we would have homework or assignment after each day, or we can have our on schedule after the workshop.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that you will have homework after your days. You likely will have the rest of the evening for yourself to
Great.
either, catch up on emails or whatever you need to do.
Thank you. And the other thing is, what is the crime rates around the Columbia neighborhood? And is there any place that you don't recommend us to go or be aware of?
Yeah, good question. I'll let Lauren answer, but preliminary speaking, crime rates are very low around Columbia University because we are a university, and not only is there local law enforcement around, there's also Columbia University public safety everywhere. You will see them everywhere, and when you come to Teachers College, you will see that you need a visitor's pass, and so it's a very secure building, maybe sometimes a little too secure. But yeah, so I think around the area where you will be, crime rates are very low. But as Lauren mentioned in her presentation, there are some safety things to keep in mind, especially in the evening. So avoid walking through the park by yourself. Avoid having your phone out if you're not using it, just keep it in your pocket or things kind of that nature. But yeah, Lauren, do you have anything else to add around that?
Not too much. So just so you have an idea, the area of Columbia and Teachers College is kind of big. It's a little hard to see here on the map. You see the red pin. This whole square here is Columbia, and then Barnard, which is part of Columbia as well, is over here. So we have like a really large area that is sort of overseen by Columbia. And again, where we will have Teachers College security, Columbia security, whatnot. I think in terms of petty crime, I really feel like New York and the US in general, our rates of petty crime, like petty theft, pickpocketing, things like that, are lower than if you were to go to a major European city like Barcelona or London, it is lower. Really, in terms of day-to-day safety, there's nowhere around TC that you need to avoid. Any of the more dangerous areas in New York, you're not going to stumble into. They would be further in the Bronx, which you will probably not be visiting. If you want to go to the Botanical Garden, I've been there and it's very lovely. There's Yankee Stadium. I don't think they'll be playing at that time, but it's also in the Bronx. So any area that's considered unsafe is not near TC, and you would not end up there by chance. So you don't have to worry about that. But day-to-day safety, it's very safe. Of course, Jasmine and I live here, Isaac, Talha, we're here every day. So it is a bigger city, of course, and there is a certain level of crime, but it's not a particularly dangerous neighborhood, so you really don't need to worry.
Thank you so much. And one thing, if I want to grab a quick lunch, easy lunch, before the like between the day, do you have a list of food or food truck around the campus or on the campus? Then we
Yes.
can just,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Lauren has prepared a really great list of
Oh,
some
thank you.
restaurants that are nearby, but also we'll point this out when you guys get here, but there's a street called Broadway, and that's
Mhm.
closer to the main campus. There's usually a lot of food trucks that students like to go to during lunch, and they're really great. All different types of food, anywhere from like Asian to Latin American cuisine, and very reasonably priced as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
And
for the
if I have some visa question related question, should I ask here or after the meeting by email?
I think visa related questions would be for Kevi.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll talk
Thank
about
you.
that later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Amanda?
questions?
Yeah, this is Sheila speaking.
Hi,
I
Sheila.
appreciate the orientation. Quick question about the schedule
Sure.
of every day. So when will we start in the morning and when will we end in the afternoon?
Yeah, so mornings will usually start around 9 a.m. And you'll usually end around 4 in the afternoon.
So after the end of the afternoon, is that still a good time or enough time for us for anyone who is more interested in just look around, to explore around the
Yeah.
neighborhood? It's good
Yeah.
enough? No.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I mean, in February it still gets dark a little earlier, so that's just something to keep in mind, but that doesn't mean that you can't explore a little bit more. And some museums are open a little later, especially on Fridays and things like that. So, yeah, New York is notoriously the city that doesn't sleep. So there's a lot to do in the evening.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will
sounds
say
fun. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
stores usually stay open until about 7 p.m. And then in terms of eating, I'd say prime dinner time is about 7:30 p.m. So that's when restaurants will probably be busiest, 7:30 to 8:30. And they stay open very late, so you'll always have options for food.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. And just a quick note on restaurants as well, now that Lauren mentioned it. If there's any particular sit-down restaurant that you want to go to, maybe just double check if they have reservations, or if they take reservations, it might be a good idea to make those beforehand, because they sometimes get a little busy every now and again. So just something to think about.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
So, in terms of the transportation from the airport to the hotel, do you recommend taking public transport or do we have to take a taxi?
So it depends what airport you're coming from. If you're coming from
JFK, I think.
JFK, yeah, JFK, honestly, I would recommend it's a little bit more cost friendly to take the subway, or to take public transportation because it'll be about the same amount of time regardless if you take a taxi or if you take public transportation. So that would be my personal recommendation. But just to give you an idea, taxis from JFK usually run around $75 to $100 from JFK to Manhattan, anywhere in Manhattan usually. So that's just a cost to keep in mind versus the taking public transportation will be in total probably anywhere from $15, I think, with yeah. And Lauren can send over some instructions on how to take the public transportation from JFK.
Yeah, to my
Okay.
knowledge, I live in Brooklyn, but I'm pretty sure that there is a flat rate with a taxi if you're going to Manhattan. It may depend on the time of day. I will double check and include that in the list I send over to you all. But generally, there's a flat rate of, I believe it's $75. So when I said Uber and taxis are expensive, that's what we mean. They're quite pricey. So Manhattan is definitely connected to JFK via public transit, and I'll include those instructions. It just, of course, depends on how many bags you have with you, might be a bit tricky.
That's true.
So it's really personal preference and budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions.
Excuse me, I'm Chen.
Hi.
Yes. May I know that we have to book the accommodation by ourselves, right? So
Yes.
is there any accommodation from the university that we can book it and stay in the university or college?
We will check on that option.
Yes.
I'm not completely, I mean, we do have a guest housing, but
Oh,
I have
yes.
to, yeah, but I have to check if it's available during that time.
Okay.
And for outside guests, yes. So we'll get back to you on that question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, since someone talk about accommodation, personally, I would say do it as quickly as you could because New York is a very busy city and you have a lot of international guests from all over the world. And so you might want to check like trip.com, booking.com, whatever platform that provide accommodations. So do it as soon as we could is the best policy. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions?
The only other hotel recommendation I would have is, again, when we talk about the 5 boroughs, just be sure that you're looking at a hotel in Manhattan. Any of the other boroughs, especially Queens and Brooklyn, it would be quite a long commute. So you may see some cheaper hotels pop up outside of Manhattan. But for transportation purposes, I would not recommend them. Again, I would recommend looking somewhere here on the Upper West Side or Times Square.
Shen Ying, I think you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Is there a contact number we can call in case of an emergency? Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have those contact numbers available in the document that Lauren will send over. So you'll have my contact information and you'll have Teachers College Public Safety contact information and of course local law enforcement in case any emergencies happen.
Okay, thank you for your valuable information.
Yes, of course. Any other questions? We're very, very excited to have you all at TC in February and are working very hard to ensure it's a fun and learning-filled 2 weeks. And of course, we're still, confirming your itinerary, but if you have any ideas or if you have any kind of things that you're thinking about that you would really like to work on while you're here, please feel free to let us know and we'll try to incorporate those things into the itinerary, or at the very minimum just let our faculty know that these are kind of some learning objectives that you all are keeping in mind, because we want to make it as helpful and useful to you all as possible. So I don't think I see any other questions, but like I said, we'll share the slides so you can take a closer look, and we'll certainly share the itinerary once it's confirmed with all of our speakers and faculty and everything, so you have all the information that you need. So with that, I think we're okay to wrap up. Is that okay, Kevi?
Yeah, but I still need some time to introduce the how to apply for the visa
Okay.
stuff. So give me some, but I think we can for the TC part you can end here. So
Okay.
we will like speak Chinese the rest of the time. So
Okay. Okay, great.
to
Yeah.
make you
So
guys
we'll
so bored about that.
yeah, no worries. Yeah. So me and my team will leave the meeting, but we're
Yeah.
very grateful for you all and are looking forward to having you very soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jasmine,
Thank you.
Isaac, and Toha, and Lawrence. So
Thank
we are
you.
looking forward to meeting you in New York.
Yes, us as well. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care.
Okay. Bye. Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
大家其他人不要走，等一下我们还没讲完，我怕大家就走了。好，对不起，对不起，还留下大家一下，是因为想要快速跟大家，就是介绍一下这次的行程当中，那其实我会跟着大家一起去，所以如果到时候遇到什么问题的时候，也可以联络我。那我基本上就会跟着大家在这一个团里面。那我是 Kevin，就是可以叫我 Kevin 就可以了。那我们这一次去的时间就是2周。那在出发前有一些提醒事项。那第一件最重要的事情就是请大家加这个群组的 Line。那如果有什么事后的通知，那我们会从这个群组的 Line 通知大家，大家可以比较快速的回复。所以如果您现在手边有手机的话，可以麻烦大家就是加一下 scan 一下这个 QR code，应该就可以连接到我们的就是我们这次去 TC 这一群的 Line 群组。老师请说 ，Stephen。
Kevin，不好意思，我想请问一下，
是
因为我们有填一个 survey 回去嘛，哈，就是
对，
要同意或者是不或者要参加还是不参加，但
是
是我们一直没有收到一个确认，就是说我们正式是在那个名单里面了，所以
哦，
基本上就是
就是你们回复回来的，就是代表你们确认，那这边就是 OK 的，因为基本上你们已经是都被筛选过的，所以当初收到
OK
这个信函的老师们呢，基本上就是已经被确认，只要你同意，那你就会在这个名单上。那你回复是没有要去的话，我们就会立刻补上其他的人。对，所以您有交回来就是 OK 的。那
好，谢
我们
谢谢谢，
之后会事后再可能会有群组的信寄给大家
好，谢谢。
的。
嗯，
然
那
后呢，
个不好意思，
对不起，你说。
哦，还是您先讲完好了。
哦，没有，没关系，你就相关的问题我们可以先问，没关系。
我是想要问跟那个签证申请相关的事情啊。
哦，那我们后面会有，所以我们就一
对
起
对对对，
一起说明。对。好，那大家都有加进去了吗？如果到时候你不
不
能加
好意
进去，
思，
嗯，
你那个 scan 好像是没有办法显示，你可以，
哦，真的吗？那不然你就先加我呢？对不起，我把我的那个等我一下哦，我把我的 Line 的 ID 打在
OK
群组，我的 ID 很简单。就是你可以搜寻我的 ID，然后呢，先加我，再把你加进去。
OK，所以您的 ID 是
是 KEVVYYANG，就 Kevin 杨。
OK，
就如果
好
你的 scan 是失败的话，你可以试着就是用我的名称。好，那就麻烦大家再加我，再加大家进去我们的群组。好，然后呢，接着呢，就是想要跟大家说，就是 Teachers College 的部分。那刚刚老师已经有说，大家都知道飞 JFK，我就不多说。那个其实还有其他2座机场，所以我不知道大家会不会飞。但是如果你的机票买到其他2座机场的话，先不要开票，因为建议大家还是飞 JFK，因为你要转机的话，你就会需要转机的时间，那行李也要重新转，所以会比较麻烦。虽然其他机场看起来好像比较近，但事实上车程顶多就是30分钟跟40分钟的差别而已。那刚刚有提到有人就说要不要做 Uber 啊或什么，那刚刚那个 Jasmine 他们已经有说大概75块左右，那看你是尖峰或离峰，通常就是大概75到100块左右。那因为我刚回来，所以我刚上次做的时候，我其实是在感恩节，所以做了120块美金，所以它的价格是浮动的，所以真的就是看大家的 budget。那时间上呢，因为那个纽约非常容易塞车，所以真的是如果你坐大众交通工具跟这跟 Uber 或什么其他的交通工具，基本上时间不会差太多。唯一的缺点就是说，如果你有2个行李箱很大的话，你可能上下那个地铁会比较麻烦，那你可能就可以考虑坐 Uber。那如果你的行李不是那么多的话，那你就可以考虑坐地铁，可能会是比较节省的。那我们的时间原长就是我们是定在2月1号。那我们知道每个老师的时间可能会有一点点不一样。那原则上就是希望大家在礼拜天之前就是可以抵达。 那回程的时候，我们是设定在2月15号回去。那大家在计算时间的时候，可能要注意一下，因为如果你的班机是那天的晚上的话，你回到台湾的时间是要+2哦。哦，就不是只有加1天，要+2才会到达台湾。那这个是大家在做时间考量的时候可能要注意的。哦，然后呢，好，那就是最晚就是2月2号要到。那建议大家2月1号就飞，因为冬天的时候如果遇到大风雪啊，你的班机可能会出现一些状况，或者是会改飞到别的地方，那就会有一些问题的话，就是建议大家有一个空一点的时间，你就不会那么的紧张这样子。那我们原章就是2月3号就会在到时候 Jasmine 就我们的指定地点集合碰面。所以不管你要住哪一个饭店，你想要住在 Times Square 附近也是 OK，你想要住在比较靠近 TC 也是 OK。那但是就是我们会在那一天的时间碰面。那这个因为这个补助是由教育部补助，所以要确实的参加所有的他们安排的活动，那学校参访。那如果真的有身体状况不能参与的话，请你再跟我说。好，那再来就是签证的部分，基本上我们就不额外申请签证，因为如果你要额外申请签证，就要跟 AIT 约时间，那会非常的麻烦。那因为我们的活动的性质其实就用 ESTA 就可以进去，所以请大家就是上网就是采用就是免签证的计划，那就是申请 ESTA 就可以。那注意一下哦，ESTA 有很多假网站，所以大家务必是要去正确的网站哦。那下面有这个，它有一个 App 可以使用。那如果不习惯使用 App，你不想 download 一个新，那你就是上网找 ESTA，那就会确定一下它需要的费用是21块美金。如果太多的话，就有可能是假的。好，那呢，付款的方式是要使用信用卡哦，所以记得你可能需要准备一张信用卡去填写。那上面会填写的内容大概就是跟你入境的时候会需要问的一些问题有关系。那地址的部分会需要你填你到时候住宿的地方，所以你可能需要先有一个住宿点的时候，才有办法把那整个申请的文件完成。那所需要的时间大概是72小时，它就会核发你的 ESTA。那就我的经验我个人通常就是申请了之后，大概1个小时内它就会出现。但是我还是不建议大家就是很靠近你要出发才申请，最好是留至少3天前申请，因为他也可能会留很久不能出发。然后还有老师遇到说他在申请的时候才发现他可能遇到以前一些问题，他不能够使用 ESTA。所以建议大家，因为它的效期其实蛮久的，如果还没有 ESTA 的老师，我觉得可以提早久一点，就提早多一些去申请。那个已经有近期内有去过美国的老师呢，请你去 check 一下你有没有 ESTA 还是有效的，你就不用再申请了，不然你就会又再浪费一次钱。那你的 ESTA 必须搭配的是晶片的护照哦，所以有些老师可能是你很早就有护照，然后还在使用旧护照的，你务必要确定你的护照是有晶片的，才可以使用 ESTA 通关。好，那这边建议大家就是12月31号前就申请好你的 ESTA 的部分。好，
关于这个
那再来
签证的部分啊，不好意思，想要
不会，
问一下，就是
请说。
因为我之前当 postdoc 的时候，我有申请那个 H1 签证，然后
是
他就是，但因为后来因为遇到疫情的关系，我就回台湾了，那我也没有做任何处理，所
是，
以我需
你的
要做什么
H1
事？
签证，你可能要先去 check 你那个签证是不是有效的，
呃，好，应该
因为
是已经。
那个每一个签证年限可能都不一样。
对，我是
是，
它应该已经过期了，只是就是我在想说，我需要它过期了之后，它就是自然过期，然后我不需要做任何事情，对吧？还是我需要做什
不用，
么事吗？
它就是
他等一下
过期，你就是不能
怀疑我。
再，不会，你就是不能凭那个东西再进去，那你就是再去申请一个 ESTA，然后到时候就是凭 ESTA 进去这样子。
好
对。
，OK，谢谢。
是，不会。好，那再来就是呢，这就是 ESTA 的网站。那这边有网站的连接给大家看。那如果真的不太确定要怎么填写的，我这边有步骤的教学，你可以去联络。那主要就是在美的联络资料会是需要你的饭店的资讯。好，那所以呢，就必须要有这个饭店的讯息才有办法去填写。那记得费用是21块哦，太多可能都是诈骗哦，所以千万不要去填那个超过21块的网站。那确定你的网站的资讯是正确的。好，那对不起，已经有签过 最近有申请过 ESTA 老师，你可以去 check 上面的资讯。所以你看上面有第一个申请一个create a new application， 那跟 continue existing application， 你可以去 check 对不起，上面有一个 check ESTA status， 你可以点进去，然后填写你之前申请的一些资讯之后，它就可以看你的那个之前申请的内容。那如果老师之前去的是别的地方的话，它这边是可以修改你的地址的。那我会建议你修改，虽然好像不修改有时候不会怎么样，但是我会建议你修改你的新的目的地，就是新的行程，以免到时候到海关的时候还问你说，哎，你不是到纽约吗？为什么你的饭店是填例如在西雅图，类似这样子。所以我会建议大家就是已经有 ESTA 要上去修正这个部分。好，然后呢，再来就是呢，进海关的时候，如果有进美国海关的老师们，可能就会觉得说，有时候他们很啰嗦，很多问题。那记得一定是他会要求你扫描指纹，如果你从来都没有扫描过，那甚至你已经扫描过的时候，他还是会请你再扫一次指纹，那会查验你的身份。那呢，如果透过经过这个所谓的 ESTA 进入的话，其实就是这几个目的：商务啦、娱乐观光啦，或者是过境美国。那也可以，商务考察是包含所谓的科学教育之类的一些conference 都是算在内的。所以呢，到时候你在入境的时候呢，海关如果问你的话，你可以跟他说是 attending education conference， 然后或者是呢workshop 这样子。那呢，你也可以说拜访朋友啦，或者是就是去观光都可以。好，但是呢，如果是拜访朋友的话，如果你用了这个选项的话，有时候会被问你的朋友是谁，你怎么认识他的，你在哪里认识他的，等等等，这样更细节的问题。好，所以我会建议大家就是说你要这个attending education conferences and workshops， 那我们会去请 TC 帮我们开一个邀请信，所以每个老师就可以持着这个邀请信进去，海关的时候被问的时候，你就可以给他看。那呢，再来就是要携带的物品，不能携带的部分，请参阅一下我们台湾的外交部尤其是像肉类不要携带因为很大就会被丢掉跟会罚钱，所以这些请老师再多注意。那有些老师会带泡面，那个泡面可能不能带有肉的，因为有时候他看不懂上面的字，他会看图片，然后他就是可能看到上面有一个猪啊，甚至你里面根本没有猪，他一样觉得里面有猪，他觉得就是罚你的钱这样子。所以就是带泡面的时候，请你注意一下上面不要有像肉的字样，因为这是比较容易被查验的。那海鲜本身是可以的，所以就是如果你是海鲜泡面，可能可以，但我个人会建议大家带素的泡面是最保险的，就是它不会有太多的争议如果需要带泡面的老师，就是请多注意一下。好，那再就是呢，去那边的时候，当然我们会有很多的上课，就是大家可能就是 follow 他们上课的内容，应该是不会有太大的问题。那如果有作业的话，还是就是希望老师们可以一起加入。那他们可能会有一些就是希望你去看一些什么东西啊，可能也就是麻烦老师一起加入这个地方。那最重要的是呢，大家去一定要不要担心要问问题，就是尽量问他们问题。那呢，一定要在讨论的时候多参与讨论就是不要让就是场子很干，或者是大家好像都不知道说什么，就尽量参与讨论，然后尽量发问就是这样子会是你获益最多的状况。那返台后，我们就会有一些就是可能会邀请老师来参加一些我们的活动啦，或者是去参观老师的课堂啦，或者是会有一些返台的一些分享啊等等等的，我们会事后再邀请老师。那老师别忘了，这次的活动是包含你下学期或下2个学年会要开一门 EMI 的课程，所以呢，这也是一个很好准备的时机。所以你在美国的时候就可以跟他们讨论，或者是发问的时候就可以问可能跟你课程相关的东西。那这样可能或许可以协助你去准备未来的课程。那我们5月的时候可能会有一个4月底5月初的时候会有一个 overseas training 的 presentation， 那我们会在个别跟老师说这件事情，然后请老师来参加。那结束之后，我们也会有一个培训回归的调查，也要麻烦老师再帮我们填写。好，再来就是一些 reminders， 刚刚就是TC 的同仁们已经有跟我们介绍一些。那这边第一个请大家注意的时候，第一个就是你的个人药品一定要带齐。好，尤其是尤其是处方药，因为你到时候在美国买处方药的时候，第一个你没有处方，可能要看医生，或者是可能你就是那个处方一定要医院开才能拥有的话，就会很麻烦，而且会花的费用比较多所以记得一定要就是准备好你的个人的用品。那有一些你习惯的用药，例如说头痛的药啊，或者是一些常备药，我会建议大家携带。当然就是在纽约药局其实是蛮容易就有的，所以 所以你是可以买得到，但是不一定可以买到你习惯的，所以还是建议大家带好自己个人的药品。那像感冒药，尤其是可能因为在冬天可能比较容易感冒，所以可能建议大家要带。那如果怕就是得一些流感或者 COVID 的老师，可能就可以在药房先跟他说，如果不小心我得 COVID，或者是不小心我会得流感，那我人在美国，我可不可以带一些什么药？有些药局是可以开给你的，或者是你去诊所跟医生说你想要预备用药，有些诊所会开给你。对不起，如果你真的身体有不适的话，第一个时间请你通知我。对不起，这边我写的方达其实是通知我，通知 KV，那我们就会再看，如果你有这个状况，可能在那边休息，那我们看有没有办法就协助你拿到一些 material， 这样你就可以在饭店里面就是可能看啊，或者是线上之类的。所以就务必先告诉我。那如果状况真的很糟糕的话，也告诉我们，就会请学校协助我们，可能找到可以就医的地方。好，那天气的部分刚刚有说到，就是其实会蛮冷的哦，所以呢，建议大家可能要至少要带一件厚外套，虽然它会很占你的行李空间，可是厚外套是非常必须。那建议是带，如果你可以带一些比较不过风，或者是你带一件之后，然后外面套一个比较不过风的大衣或什么之类，可能会是在保暖的状况最好的。那不建议大家里面真的穿很多，因为你一到室内的时候就都有暖气，所以呢，你可能就要脱很多衣服。所以建议大家就是可以，可能里面穿比较薄，但是是保暖的衣物。那外面呢，可能就是需要一个比较厚的大衣或者是厚的外套，可以帮助你去抵抗寒冷。那鞋子的部分，刚刚有说要带好走的鞋子，那我会建议大家再多一点，就是带可能比较不怕湿或者是防滑的鞋子，因为我怕纽约其实是蛮容易下雨的，所以呢下雨如果或者是不幸我们遇到下雪的话，那就是地上就会很滑，所以我会建议大家带一个比较防湿然后防滑的鞋子会是更好的。那当然，如果你想要在纽约的时候真的有遇到的时候再买也是可以吼，这也是当然，但买东西应该不是一个太大的问题。好，那出入境的部分还是让大家去看一下出入境的一个相关的规定哦，可以带的东西与否。好，那餐食的部分呢，刚刚有提到就是主要是小费的制度，那基本上就是在午餐的部分可能会付15%到20%，那晚上会额外再付20%到25%。那刚刚他们也有提到，就是说如果是团客的话，例如你们有6个人去吃饭或8个人去吃饭，它其实就会内建20%在里面，所以大家付钱的时候一定要看一下那个明细，怕大家多付钱。那再来就是电话卡的部分，一定要大家可能要先去看一下自己适合用怎样的方案。那你可以用门号去漫游，但是门号漫游的问题就会是不能打电话。那如果你需要打电话的话，你可能买预付卡的时候就要确定是可以是可以通话的，而不是只有网络的。好，那再来就是有一个就是eSIM 的部分，就是如果你觉得你不想换那个 SIM 卡的话，那我就会建议你买 eSIM。但要确定你的手机是支援 eSIM 的哦，不然你买了可能会不能够使用。那在付款的部分呢，你可以建议大家要换一些现金，因为你的饭店可能会需要留小费在就是床头小费的部分。那呢，基本上路上就是购物都可以刷卡，所以也要确定你的信用卡是可以使用，然后是可以在海外消费不会被挡的这个部分。好，那上课记得携带一下平板或者是笔电。那我们会就是在就是上课的时候可能会让你方便做笔记，或者是我们之后可能要结业的时候，可能要做一个小小的 presentation 的时候，你可以有工具可以使用。那我刚刚有问到，就是说可不可以使用 WiFi？应该理论上 WiFi 是不会有问题的。哦，是我们可以使用学校 WiFi 的。那这个部分我会再提醒学校开给我们这样子的权限。好，那再来就是伴手礼的部分，就是看各自意愿，因为有些学校老师可能需要带自己学校的一些就是文宣品或者是小纪念品，那你可以带，或者你想要带一些台湾的小纪念品送给那边的老师也可以，那就是你们各自可以去准备，那就我们没有强调一定要带或不要带，就是看你有没有这个需求。好，那安全的部分呢？好，刚刚就有说纽约大部分其实是蛮安全，即便是在晚上的时候，如果你是在逛街的区域的话，其实也没有那么的危险。但是就是相对于台湾、美国还是相对的不安全，所以呢，还是要多注意你个人的财物。那晚上出门的时候，建议一定要就是结伴同行，尽量不要一个人去单独的行动，因为毕竟还是会有就是安全上的考量。那至少2个人一起的时候，也可以就是有问题的时候也知道怎么样去讨论吼。那就是纽约的部分大致上就是他们店都开得很晚，到很晚都还是有餐厅，所以不用担心就是吃饭的问题。但是就是晚上的时候就是可能就是结伴比较是有安全上的问题，那大致上都是很安全的。 好，那最后就是提醒大家，出发前一定要记得你的护照，如果至少护照需要半年以上的效期哦，所以去确认一下你的护照有没有要过期了。那你的 ESTA 如果你完成之后，记得申请一份。好，就是申请一份，基本上海关不会看，可是以防他会看，所以建议你申请一份。那如果你可以截图有一个电子档在你的手机里面的话，那会更好。那再来呢，有照片的身份证件已经办临时护照的大头照也请准备好。如果你不幸就是你的护照遗失的话，会需要大头照。那在美国拍大头照其实是蛮贵的，所以如果你可以准备可能2张或3张的大头照的话，那是会更好。那所有的身份证件，我会建议大家有一个电子档在你的手机里面。当你的东西不见的时候，要申办你的新的护照的时候，在美国的新的护照的时候，他会要求你出示就是相关的可以证明你是谁的文件，所以就是你会有一个电子档会是最好。那你也可以印一份，就是在你的可能资料夹里面做留存。好，那我们之后会提供一个手册，那这个简报也会分享给大家，大家可以再去查阅。好，那出入境的规定、行李的规定，那请你依据你的包括所谓的外交部相关的资讯，还有你的机票的规定，来看你的行李可以带多少的件数。好，美国电话卡非常重要，如果你没有网络的话，你可能会很难在美国就是navigate 这个地区，所以一定要记得你的网络非常重要。那然后如果你需要电话的话，记得办的是有电话就是有附电话的电话卡。好，那常备药物啊、水壶、保鲜盒、环保餐具，看你个人的需求来携带。那我会建议大家可能带一些保鲜袋，因为保鲜盒可能比较大一点，你比较难携带。那保鲜袋可能会比较合适。那原因是因为第一个就是美国的食物的分量比较大，你可能常常吃不完，你需要把它带走。那餐厅员章可以让你看，可以给你纸盒或什么让你带走。那没有的时候，你可能可以用自己的环保袋去装这样子。那所以建议大家可能带几个环保袋，以防不时之需这样子。那水壶的部分也会建议带一个比较轻便的，尤其是如果你常常需要装热水的话，一般路上都很难获得热水这件事情。所以如果你需要的话，可能需要在你的饭店就准备好，然后可能放你的水壶里面可以使用。那药物刚刚有讲到过了，那再来就是保暖的衣物很重要哦。那换美金的部分，还有开通国外刷卡的功能，这些也请大家注意。好，最后就是还有保险的部分。那因为保险部分可能跟学校的相关规定有关系，那如果你有自己想要多保的话，会建议你多保不便险。如果学校没有保的话，那不便险还是保障大家，就是因为可能天候或什么之类的，就是机场可能不飞了，或你的飞机不飞的话，它会有一个相对应的保障。好，那再来就是提前安排，就是去桃园机场的交通。那因为那个时候可能是过年刚结束没有多久，所以呢机场可能很多人，所以平常我们可能提前2个小时去机场，那你可能可以提早再多一点点，2个半或3个小时去机场等待，以免你错过你的飞机。好，我想我今天的分享就到这个地方，请问有没有老师有问题呢？有吗？有吗？好，对不起，
不好意思，我是艺人。
老师请
那请问一
说。
下哦，那我们集合的地方就是直接按照他的那个讲的那个地方嘛，就是直接到那个教室，还是说会说要团进团出？第一次上课的时候？
第一次上课的时候，我们会请那个 Jasmine 提供我们个地点，那我会在那边等大家，所以就是他们应该也会派人等我们一起把我们带进去。那刚刚他有说过，因为 TC 有一点点麻烦的地方，就是他进出都需要那个就是识别证，就是他的门基本上就是锁着，门口都有警卫，所以呢可能需要到时候他应该是会帮我们申请证，如果没有的话，我们就是要统一就是申请进入的一个证件，所以我们会在一个地方等待之后跟大家一起进去。所以大家不用担心，所以确切的地点之后会再公布给大家。
OK， 谢谢。
周老师，请说。
请教一下，您刚才那个简报上最后一点有提到那个周末有所谓的活动，那是 TC 那边办的吗？还是 Fulbright 这边？还是那个
这一次周末应该不会排到活动啊，对不起，那我应该要把它删掉。基本上这一次周末我们就不特别安插活动给大家，因为纽约这个地方其实你是很好自己可以去移动的，所以我们就不强制说你一定要去什么地方，在周末的时候，就会让大家自己去探索纽约的周边这样子。
好，谢
对，
谢。
所以6日我们没有排任何的就是活动给大家。
OK，
对，好，大家还有其他问题吗？好哦，我知道也很晚了，所以如果大家有什么问题的话，我们可以在 LINE 上说，然后或者你可以私 LINE 我，或者是 email 给 Jasmine 他们都 OK。那我们可以再讨论。那刚刚他有提到，就是他们在 check 他们的 guest house 的部分，我们也会再去 follow up。然后如果有最新的消息，我们会跟你说，因为我们已经去看那个 guest house。我可以大概说一下，就是它没有很大，它就是小小一间，但是就是要住的话是 OK 的。但是它唯一的缺点就是它不知道有多少的量，所以这也是为什么我们一直没有公布说有这个选项的原因，是因为他们说有这个东西，可是他不知道那个时间点能够有多少。那我们有在跟他说，请他们再去帮我们确认。那等确认完之后，再跟老师们分享这件事情。那当然，如果你有看到很不错的房价的老师呢，我会建议大家就可以订了，因为我觉得如果他大概在200块以内，应该都算是不错的房价。就以在那个 Manhattan 那个区块的话，其实都会是不错的房价。所以如果你有看到不错，然后你可能又有很多的 discount，然后你觉得可以的，你可以先订。那不然就是等那个TC 的那边的看它的容量有多少，但是我怕不多。所以大家有空还是看看房，如果有看到不错的标的可以去。那就是纽约的地铁基本上都是蛮方便的。那个 TC 它自己有一个站在那附近，所以就是如果你住在稍微不是在那个学校旁边的话，在有需要坐地铁的地方，就是应该是还好。对对对对对。OK，好。如果大家没有什么问题的话，那我们就是 LINE 上见哦。如果没有成功加上我的 LINE 的人，你可以留下来，等一下我再看看你可不可以就是再用我的 ID，或我看什么方法可以加，或我加你。好，那就这样子，谢谢大家参加，已经很晚了，谢谢大家。
谢谢
好，那我们就可
Kevin，
能纽约
谢
纽约
谢，
见喽。
谢谢，
谢谢，
谢谢。
谢
谢谢。
谢，
谢
OK，
谢，
拜
拜
拜，
拜。
拜
拜。
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 要不要停止？你要不要停止录影？
哦，要，忘了。